He stopped the beats.
Oh, you heard the beats?
Yeah, the beats are good. That's a
Oh,
good way
nice.
to start. I
That's
feel
a
like
good
you
way
should
to start.
start every podcast with the beats.
Yeah, I think that's a good start. I was thinking, yeah, I think that's a good way. That's like our introduction music.
Yeah. I mean, the other one we used to play Afro Man, but it would be kind of too loud. So the beat, I like the desk beats. It's good.
Yeah, these are homegrown beats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No
Off the
copyright needed.
off the cuff. Yeah, you never know. You can get sued by anyone these days.
It's true. Especially once you start to make money. No one cares though when you have like 2 subscribers, which is what we have right
When no
now.
one listens to you, no one really cares. Yeah, bro. Take our beats. We really don't care. No one cares about you. We don't care about you. It's kind of like introductions. It's like, what good is an introduction when you start a podcast? No one cares.
No. You have to, once you start to make money, that's when people really pay attention to you.
Yeah, I think introductions are a way to prejudge. Like we were talking about Banksy and his art, right?
Yeah.
It's like first it's Banksy. Oh my God, look at this art. I mean, I actually think his art is great, but you sell it on the street for $15, it's a Banksy. No one knows it's a Banksy. So how much of it is the art itself, and how much of it is just the name that you're buying? That's our society.
I mean, I haven't seen a lot of Banksy do. I haven't seen a lot of Banksy work recently. I want to see what he's up to. Let me see if I can pull up some stuff here.
I mean, he's got a name when he can destroy his own artwork and then it becomes like even more valuable. It's like he has society in the palm of her hand. I shouldn't say his. I don't know. Is it a he or a she?
It's all gender fluid now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Pronouns, something like that.
Let's see. Allow apps to record, share screen. Let me see. I'm still figuring all this stuff out. I don't use the desktop version very often.
Still trying to figure out the internet?
Yeah. I'm trying to do this, how to share a screen on here. Let me see if I can do it.
Rogan has it good, man. He's got people to pull up videos and stuff like that. He just sits back and smokes his weed.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got a team that is like paid for by Spotify that he's got to the point now where he can just relax.
Yeah.
I wonder how he started though. It'd be interesting to see like his first 2 podcasts.
Yeah.
How messy that was.
Yeah. He was great on that show, News Radio. I think he was like the maintenance guy. He was great on it. I was like, I love this guy. Who is this? So good. But yeah, his first podcast would be interesting. Episodes 1 and 2.
I think I really found him on YouTube. I don't think I really listened to his like audio podcast that much. Even though I was listening to podcasts back then, I think YouTube is really how I started listening to him. And then it just took off.
I think I started watching him more once people were like, oh my God, Joe Rogan is so rude and he's so controversial. I was like, ooh, what is this all about? I watched more of his stuff. I mean, I knew who he was, but I was like, I don't get it. I know there's some stories that he's said a few words that are, not appropriate. But I've watched quite a few of his podcasts, and he's pretty good. I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard him say anything that's like overtly offensive or even remotely offensive, to be honest. But that may be just me. I don't get offended very easily.
Yeah, I mean, like recently that vaccine stuff was really controversial. I mean, people were upset at him because they felt like he had no medical expertise, and he was talking a lot about ivermectin and alternative ways of dealing with the virus and all that. I don't know if he even got vaccinated himself. I don't even know, but people were pretty upset about that. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, he wasn't, his view on vaccines, from what I remember, I mean, he was okay with it. He, for himself, he didn't feel like he needed it or all that. It's not like he was starting a movement and telling a bunch of people what to do. He was just voicing his opinion, his personal opinion on what he's doing himself. He never told people, oh, I think he said that if you take the vaccine, good for you. If you don't, good for you. Whatever. I'm gonna do me.
He got totally misrepresented and attacked in mainstream media. And people who don't even listen to him, they just jumped on that mainstream media attack.
Oh, it's so easy to do that, right? Preach to the choir, whatever, whoever you're in tune with, if they're saying something, you're just automatic. Oh, I hate Joe Rogan. What? Get out of here.
Yeah. Like I honestly, like I don't tell people like at work and stuff that I like Joe Rogan. He's controversial enough for me to not tell people that I listen to Joe Rogan. That's how controversial he is.
Um, I could see that. I could see not, yeah, in a work environment, not saying it. People are pretty sensitive. I remember there's something recently about him being like racist and saying, I think it was the N word, I believe. I never saw that video itself, but when he was talking to Ben Shapiro and they were talking about like the crime in black neighborhoods and stuff. I mean, Joe Rogan he was pretty much on the side of black people. I don't know. It doesn't make sense that he's a racist. He shut down Ben Shapiro in a very, diplomatic way and a very logical way too.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Ben Shapiro, so I didn't listen to that podcast. It's hard for me to listen to Joe Rogan's podcast of a guest that I'm not interested in. It's such a long experience. So I haven't listened to Ben Shapiro. I haven't listened to Bill Maher. I just don't like the political stuff as much. But yeah,
Yeah,
maybe I should check out some stuff.
I think a lot of times I come across YouTube and it'll be like a 20-minute clip. It won't be the whole
3 hour
podcast.
thing.
It'll be like a conversation, like a snippet of like a conversation out of the whole podcast. So the one they were talking about was I mean, it was what Ben Shapiro was pretty much saying was pretty ridiculous. He's like, oh, why don't black people just stop committing crime? It's like, okay, dude, like that's just so ridiculous. And honestly, more so than Joe Rogan's response was how he responded. It was so like clean and diplomatic. Like he did it in such a good way. And I think Ben Shapiro kind of understood. He's like, yeah, I think he kind of understood that he was coming from a pretty privileged, what's it called, standpoint. Or maybe he didn't. And maybe I'm just being optimistic.
I mean, Ahmad and I, we saw Ben Shapiro live, and he actually talked about Islam when he was speaking. When he talked about like extremism, and he's using Islam as an example. And man, his views on Islam are just so one-sided. Like there's no like perspective there,
Yeah,
maybe he's changed.
Yeah, he's not after truth.
Yeah.
He's a lot of these people, what you'll see is that they don't see it, but I think they pander to who their audience is. I think, yeah, most people are like that. Ben Shapiro, he really seems like that. I think he's just trying to elicit a response. Like his thing with transsexuals and like this whole stand of not calling what is it called when they not convert, what is it when they transition? Yeah. When they transition, I'm not going to call you a female. Dude, get over it. It's not a big deal. If someone wants to be called, I'm okay. Maybe it's just me. Whatever. Let's move on. There's way worse things in the world than whether I'm going to call a male who's, transitioned to a female, whether I'm going to use a pronoun of she or he. Come on, let's get over this. There's way more important things.
He has the privilege to do that. So I pulled up, I don't know, can you see this on your screen? So I'm sharing screen now.
We're above
Okay.
800 million Muslims radicalized. Really? 800 million radicalized?
I know,
That's
right? That's just hard. I know this about him. Yeah. That's a lot of humans to say are radical. And like children, that probably includes a lot of children.
how would you even go about um how would you even go about getting the data to understand that 800 million people are a certain thought radicalized? There's so much, right? What does radicalized mean? It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous that it's just, what is this false PolitiFact truthometer?
Yeah, so this is the institute that does truthometers. I love truthometers because when you share it on the phone, it like populates this meter right there. It says false or true or half true or whatever,
Are they
right?
saying it's false that he said that, or that the fact is false? Or
It's
fact?
saying that Ben Shapiro was false when he said this, that
Yeah,
it's not
that's
true. And then I think if you go further down, then it starts explaining like Ben Shapiro and how that was a stupid comment. So
yeah, that's a pretty stupid comment. It's got almost 205 Muslims. According to 2009 poll, it showed almost 50% of Indonesians support strict Sharia law. A 2009 poll, 50% of Indonesians. Do you know how many people are in Indonesia? Look,
yeah.
a poll that kind of, oh, this whole country, 50% of them are, get out of here.
He just, I mean, he thinks that if you support Sharia law, strict Sharia law, then you have been radicalized. That's it. So,
Yeah.
and I don't know. There's so many different views on what Sharia law is, what is strict Sharia law, and the punishment that you may think is so radical, it's actually really difficult to punish people. And you have to do, I mean, in some interpretations of Sharia law, you need eyewitness accounts, and it's just not easy to really be extreme with Sharia law if it's done under those parameters. But he's a lawyer. It's not like he has an excuse. Like he could delve into the different interpretations of Sharia law, and he has that intelligence and the education to do that, but he doesn't want to. It doesn't
No,
fit his agenda.
it doesn't fit his agenda. It's like when Jordan Peterson was asked about Islam, and he's like, well, I have no knowledge about this, but here's my opinion that will go to millions of people. Okay, if you don't have any knowledge of it, don't talk about it. There's plenty of other people that you can refer to that do have knowledge about it. Why do you have to have an opinion on it if you have no knowledge about it? And then what he said after that was just ridiculous. So yeah, Ben Shapiro, it's kind of the same. What is his specialty? He's a lawyer in what? What's his like? I could probably look that up. Ben Shapiro. Oh, the internet. So great. Ben Shapiro, what do you do?
He skipped third and ninth grade, and then he went to UCLA, and then he went to Harvard Law. In 2012, he ran a legal consultancy firm, and then became an author. And he had 2 books by the age of 21. And then from there, he's just a columnist and then a host.
I love this on Wikipedia, the views, the first line. In 2016, Shapiro described himself as basically a libertarian. Really?
Yeah, so that's how I ended up going to see Ben Shapiro live. Was I went to a libertarian student meeting at Mizzou, and then he spoke, and they were all really excited to go see him. And that's when I realized these people, I know they're young, but they don't really know how to follow their ideals. Even though libertarianism has lofty ideals, it's difficult to implement those lofty ideals. So you get caught up in these celebrities like Ben Shapiro or Donald Trump, So yeah, they're really excited. He came actually to talk about snowflakes and how Mizzou is a school of snowflakes who care too much about issues that are not really issues. And he just comes off he just comes off abrasive. That's all it is. That's his whole shtick, really. That's what he's up
Yeah,
to.
that's his advertising. This
Yeah.
is this is funny. These lines, I don't know if they're true, but Shapiro supported the 2003 invasion of Iraq, arguing that China is a dictatorship. What? How are those connected? North Korea is a dictatorship. Saudi Arabia, Libya, Syria, Pakistan, Egypt are all dictatorships. We can't overthrow all of those regimes simply to free their citizens. Man, he needs a big listen in international um, military interventions. Jesus. We have to focus on those regimes that endanger American security. Saudi Arabia brought down the towers. That endangers American security. Are you kidding me? Get out of here. Oh yeah, I'm done with him. That's all I needed to read. That's just ridiculous.
Well, it's good that you listen to him on Rogan because I feel like that's kind of what happens when Rogan gets conservative guests, that people see that, what Rogan does is he finds guests and he tries to find common ground with a lot of them.
Yeah.
And at times that comes off as being disingenuous. That's what I kind of feel like sometimes with Rogan, like sometimes he's being too nice to everybody, and when you're too nice to everyone, then no one knows where you really stand. So
Uh, I think he can come off that way, but he had a guest, um, something Guerrero. Guerrero. I think he's a UFC fighter or was a UFC fighter or something martial arts. I know I'm not very good on martial arts stuff, but even though I take karate, but I'll have to look up his name. But he's a good friend of his, and this friend of his believes in flat Earth and all that, right?
mhm.
And man, he ripped into him. He really ripped in. Maybe because he's his friend. He totally rips into him. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that clip that they have on YouTube, they'll find like him like disagreeing with people. But his 3 hour experiences, like he may have a few disagreements here and there, but the guy has got a skill at being able to get along with all kinds of different people, flat
Yeah,
earthers or you know Neil deGrasse Tyson, completely different ends of the spectrum. He'll get along with everyone.
yeah, and that kind of is the way, right? I mean, get along, maybe it's not. I don't know if I'd use those words exactly, but having the ability to have conversations with people of all sorts of different ideologies, including ones that disagree with your own. That is the way. That is you know, that's the way to live. That's the way to learn. I
Yeah,
like that.
it's what it is, right? Like, what is Ben Shapiro offering me that I want to learn? Like, there's nothing. I don't want to sound arrogant, but like, there's very little I can learn from Ben Shapiro. Truly, I can gain his perspective. He can give me his perspective, but I won't learn anything. I'll just be like, okay, that's your opinion, that's your view. I'll have to assess how things are for me according to my understanding of things. But that's all he offers, right? He only offers his own political views, and then ultimately, I'm just left with my own. And often we don't agree, like often,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's very with Ben Shapiro, like his religious stuff comes off like recently his religious stuff comes off nice, like Judaism and Islam and the similarities that Christianity has to all of that. That's fine, you know. So when he listened to his podcast, like, and he talks about religion, that's fine. But like, he always will put down Islam more than the other faiths, and that's where he loses me because
Yeah.
it's just not fair, right? Like, you can pick on other faiths besides Islam, but he chooses to pick on Islam. He never picks on Israel, right? He doesn't
Yeah.
pick on their terrorism. So
Yeah. It's I get what you're saying, because like this line actually stands out to me the most. This the one that I repeated. I mean that I said earlier. We can't overthrow all of these regimes simply to free their citizens. He included Egypt, but Egypt, I'm
right.
pretty sure, was a Western supportive, like a U.S. supporting dictator, in his own words. Hosni Mubarak, fourth president of Egypt from 1981 to 2011. And if he's talking about the 2003 invasion of Iraq, and this line is from then, well, then Hosni Mubarak obviously was the leader, and that's someone the U.S. supported. So I don't get it. He doesn't make sense. Yeah, he's not worth the time anymore.
I mean,
What it is.
when they had those like the Arab those protests of the Arab Spring and all that,
Arab
and everyone's getting
Spring.
excited. Like I actually thought back then that maybe it's possible that Egypt will start to help out the people of Gaza. Because if you look at the screen, there's a huge border here. Like it's huge relative to Gaza, for Egypt and the Gaza Strip, for them to be able to start sneaking in some stuff, some supplies and stuff for these
Yeah.
people, who, need medical supplies. But
No, they don't care.
none of that happened.
No, they don't
And,
care.
and they
Egypt.
had like a flotilla that's like, I think, an organization that is from Europe and Canada that they're trying to like get a boat to float into the Gaza with all these supplies. So it's interesting, right? Like politically, you would think that, oh, even Muslims have this radicalization, but often their radicalization has to do with policies that are trying to be on the best terms with Israel. That's a part of their radicalization, you know. That's the most radical things about these countries is their governments that are working with the United States or with Israel and trying
Yeah.
to do things with them. That's the more radical stuff, not the 800 million people that are just living their lives, or the millions of Indonesia that are just living their lives. It's the governments that are the problem. So
Yeah. I mean, when your money comes from a certain viewpoint, truth automatically gets just, removed from the equation. If someone like Ben Shapiro actually goes for the truth, he'll lose a lot of his support. So these people they've internally decided we're not going for truth. What works. What's getting me paid, I'm going to keep doing that.
what I don't get is like how Ben Shapiro and people like him, they don't see this problem. They don't address this problem. Like, just take all of it. Why do you even need this? Like, why do you need the Gaza Strip? Why can't Israel just take it all?
Or why can't you just give it to Egypt?
Oh yeah, they're not going to give it. They're going to take some. They want land, right? Like that's what they want. So they think this is their land, then just take it. Why leave these people under this blockade? It's like a outdoor prison,
Exactly.
And it's
That's why
just
I kind of leave I'm a big believer in what's it called? Like biases, right? So if someone hears me as a Muslim talk about Israel, they're going, well, you're Muslim. Of course you hate Israel. Of course you hate Jewish
but I
people.
don't hate Israel.
Which
I'm
I
telling
don't,
you,
and I don't hate Jewish people, right?
Yeah.
But it's the expected viewpoint of a Muslim that what Israel is doing is wrong, right?
Right.
That's why I love focusing on Saudi Arabia, because then people are like, oh, okay, hold up, you're Muslim, they're Muslim, what's going on here? And obviously, as a Shia, it's those who know about Shia Sunni will be like, oh, you're obviously Shia, of course you hate Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I do. I mean, yeah, I'll give you that. But it's easier for me to talk about the Muslims who are doing the oppressing, the oppressive Muslim governments. There's a lot of good Jews doing the work of trying to, educate the people about the atrocities that Israel's committing. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't talk about it. I'm just saying that any viewpoint we have is just basically disregarded because of biases, basically.
Yeah, I can't even begin to talk about this with anybody, really. I mean,
Oh,
like,
you can't talk about
even Muslims aren't open to the idea of Israel just taking that land, but it works in their favor for them to continually have these people under their sort of control. Like they don't want there to be any form of peace. They want there to be this sort of inner turmoil that constantly allows them to have this like oppressive regime, and that can continually do whatever it wants as it expands into the West Bank, and expands its occupation. So it's like they want to kind of remind people like this is some conflict that we have, and that this is why we're taking all this land. So they're going to keep that little strip right there and then keep advancing westward, you know.
Yeah,
I'm
they
just
need
just
they need money for
just take it
weapons.
all. Just stop all this. Like it's just a game for them, you know? Like, and most Muslims don't want them to take it all. They want this little piece of chunk here or there. It's done. There is no more Palestine.
Yeah.
You know, like even on this map, it doesn't even say Palestine. It says West Bank.
West
You
Bank,
know?
yeah.
What like Wikipedia is in their map doesn't say Palestine on here. like if you
Yeah.
go to East Gaza border on Wikipedia, where is does it even say Palestine anywhere? Nope.
What does Google Maps say? Not that they're the
Let's
not that
see.
they're the
No, it's cute. It's interesting. Let's see.
let's see. I gotta find me some Israel. I'm looking for the word Palestine.
Palestine, Illinois.
Palestine, yeah. Mexico, Missouri.
There you go.
No Palestine.
Yep.
Doesn't have Palestine. It has dotted lines for West Bank and Gaza Strip. I don't know.
There you go.
Is that their ode to Palestine? Basically, is that what they're?
And that's here's the thing, right? Just accept it. Look, it's done. Muslims collectively did not help Palestine. It's done. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's Gaza and it's the West Bank. It's Gaza Strip, West Bank, Jerusalem, and Israel. You'll see that on the map, right?
Yeah.
Just like here, that's exactly what they're showing: Egypt, Israel, and they show the Gaza Strip. So it's just at a point where we're like, okay, well, Israel, just take all of it then, if it's all yours, and then give your people in that land some form of government, which they can take, you know, like have some sort of basic needs met, like water, medicine, you know, stuff like that.
Not have their homes raised.
Right? It's a really weird situation. It's like one of the most embarrassing situations in the world. If
Yeah.
humanity has not advanced enough now where they can just stop like occupation like this, a form of
Yeah.
apartheid like this, you know, like we're still so backward as a human race to have this continue. And then the people like Ben Shapiro just never say that. Like that's all I'm waiting. If you want to call out Islam and Muslims, fine, but why can't you say something about that situation too? Right? You can say both. You don't have to just be a Jew. Honestly, you know what I mean. You're supposed to be the more educated pundit, right? Harvard Law School and all that. Nope.
Yeah, it's not in his favor to talk about it. It doesn't help him.
It'd be hard for me. It'd be really hard for me. That's why I'm not Joe Rogan, obviously. There's multiple reasons why I'm not Joe Rogan, but that's one of the biggest reasons why I couldn't be like him, is because it's hard for me to have a guest like Ben Shapiro and not talk about this issue with him. And it's not entertaining. Like this is not fun for a lot of people to talk about.
Yeah, that's very true.
You know, like why didn't Joe Rogan bring this up with him?
Maybe Joe Rogan doesn't know that much about it.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's what I'm saying, is like he gets nice, he plays nice with a lot of people, which is fine. But when
absolutely.
it comes, yeah, he doesn't look for this stuff when he gets his guests, you know.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
there's no benefit to him.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure his buddies, he knows them well enough, so he knows some dirt on them. And so what did they talk about? What did Ben Shapiro and him even talk about? They have to talk politics. That's Ben Shapiro's big thing. So, like gender issues and stuff.
Yeah, the part I was listening to was mainly crime in black neighborhoods.
I see. So domestic issues. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. And I'm sure he's better when it comes to that stuff. So,
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous for Ben Shapiro to even talk about that stuff. It's pretty ridiculous.
well, do you remember what his solution was?
He didn't have a solution. He was just asking why they can't just stop committing crimes, stop being violent. I mean, that's a very Ben Shapiro point of view. And then Joe Rogan was saying that you have to understand the history of why these people are in the situation they're in. You know,
It's
why
like,
is it that they commit crimes? You know, there's obviously reasons for it, and it's not justification. But before we can get to a solution, we have to understand the problem. You know, and that's where people stop. You know, they don't do that. They don't try to understand why is there more crime in certain neighborhoods than others. You know.
yeah.
It's like when the Blues won the Stanley Cup and people were like, "Oh, you know, we want people to know St. Louis is, it's such a good city. Why are we not, why are we not well known? Why are we not popular?" It's because you're a pretty racist city, to be honest. And your racism, you took it to a point where it hurts your city, to the point where you're not that popular of a city. Sorry, you did it to yourself. You're so committed to your racism that you don't want there to be public transportation for people to be able to travel, that without a car to get work and all that. But you tell most of that people, they don't understand that. They're not at that level.
I mean, two white guys talking about it without a black guy there. That just it's tough. That's a tough thing. Like from my perspective, like when I drive a car, right? And I go out, and the speed limit's 50, okay, on 141. I'm probably going to be doing at least 55 to 60, at least, right? So am I a criminal? If a cop pulls me over for going 10 over, it's still breaking the law. So the definition of a criminal, why do black people commit crimes? Well, you're only committing crimes when you're caught. You're not really committing a crime unless you're caught. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in some places, where Joe Rogan smokes marijuana, he could be considered a criminal. In other places, he won't be. So it's all about where you're caught. And the fact is that the police want to catch black people more than they want to catch rich white Ben Shapiro Jews who go to Harvard Law School. That's what's going on. And it's really sad that Ben Shapiro doesn't recognize that, So
yeah, absolutely.
Why do black people commit crimes?
Yeah. It's just pathetic. Imagine if you took just one or 2 years worth of the military budget this country, spends, and actually tried to make the country better. What if we actually tried to help people? Such a novel idea. Wow. Help people. But no, according to Ben Shapiro, we have to free these countries. We can't overthrow all of them. So we might as well free Iraq. Okay.
Free them.
Freedom.
1 million civilians dead. You're welcome, Iraq.
Freedom.
I hope you enjoyed your freedom. Yeah.
That honestly, Iraq That's when I understood that these people are not very smart. You gave a whole country to Shias, bro. Do you know the dynamics between Iran and Iraq? They have like, I think there was something ridiculous in a documentary they were talking about when Donald Rumsfeld first like gave a budget to Congress or something of how much they would need. It was like 250 million or something ridiculous like that.
250
Something just
million.
absolutely ridiculous. But I mean, we know where that money went. It went to government contractor, like weapons manufacturers, government contractors, the good old no bid contracts.
Oh, at the start of the Iraq War, Donald Rumsfeld stated that Iraq would cost $50 billion.
50 billion? Okay, so
50 billion.
I was
It
way
ended
off.
up being 6.5 trillion.
I don't feel so bad for being off because he's way more off. I'm not in government, so my like me being wrong is so inconsequential compared to what his error was. When was that article written?
6.5 trillion.
This one right here.
June 30th, 2021.
He died last year. That's right. Thank God.
Yeah, he's gonna go to hell for sure.
That's an easy one. Easy hell.
Yeah. Losing nearly
Donald?
7,000 US servicemen, meanwhile, an estimated 800K. I've heard a million in Iraq and Afghanistan. Mostly national police, military, civilians, and fighters. Yeah. We got to give freedom to people, though. We got to give everyone freedom.
Freedom works. Come on. Don't you know this?
Then why can't they give me freedom in St. Louis, Missouri? Why do I have to go to Illinois to buy weed?
Because your freedom doesn't work. Sorry.